ahead and populated the canvas just to get it filled up. And really this is what you should do as early as possible before talking to your customers, is fill in as many hypotheses as you have about your business model to get them in there. I want to talk about the buttons we saw earlier when we were adding in a new experiment. So if we click on over to one of our hypotheses, we'll see our experiments, and each hypothesis is going to have one or more experiments filled in, and for each of those experiments you're going to see a pass and a fail button next to each of them. And you're also going to see for the hypothesis as a whole this validated, testing, and invalidated button. And that's what we're doing right now. We're testing it. So we've populated our canvas, and we're currently testing each and every single one of these hypotheses. And so what does testing mean? It means going out and talking to customers. So after you talk to one or a few customers, you want to go back into LaunchPad Central as often as possible and log in the interview notes. And that relates back to these buttons. So to add in a new interview, you want to click on the Add New button and click on Customer Interview, and you'll be presented with this screen. So you want to add in the name, the title, and the company of the person you interviewed. And if you want to add in more information, just click on this little link right here, and you'll be presented with this form where you can put in email, phone, the industry that the customer is in, the country, and then depending on the country, some states or provinces right here in this drop down. So if you interviewed more than one customer as a group in a group setting, you can just go ahead and click on this blue. Now this is only if you've interviewed more than one customer in one setting. If you've interviewed multiple customers in separate settings, those should be logged in as separate customer interviews. So here we have the engagement type, and that's really what it sounds like. This is what kind of engagement you had with the customer. How did you interview them? Was it through video chat? Was it through email, phone, or in person? The majority of your interviews, you should try to have them in person. That's where the biggest insights are had, and that's what we encourage in the I-Core program. You can scroll this question mark if you want to have more information. Obviously, you want to put in the interview date. You just select whatever date you conducted the interview. And for these two sections, key insights and interview description, they're similar, but what you want to do is for the interview description, this is just all your notes on the interview. This is the general, here's what we talked about, here's all the things that, that the interviewee told me that were valuable. And you can use these little icons up front, just like in a Word doc. You can format it by adding in a numbered list, a bullet list. You can do strike through text, bold text, etc. And this little button right here is for code. Here in the key insights section, these are your aha moments. You should have one or more of these in your customer interviews. Hopefully, if it goes well, you'll have one or more of these. These are the things that drastically made you change your mind about something, or make you realize something that you hadn't thought of before. These are sort of like the highlights of your interview. So down here you can put in any recordings or other attachments, meaning if you recorded the interview on video or over audio, and that's with the interviewee's permission, of course, you can go ahead and upload that. And so down here, these three sections relate to one another. Is the hypothesis that you tested. These are all your hypotheses in the business model canvas that you have populated. So we know that we talked to a internet user as this particular customer. So if we click on customer segments, we can filter these hypotheses to just the ones that are populating the customer segments, and we can find our internet users. And so you see these three buttons appear. And these are similar to the buttons I showed you just earlier. It says don't care, nice to have, must have. So remember, we're testing, one of our hypotheses is whether or not the internet user is our customer. And so when we're talking to one of our internet users and we're asking questions based on the experiments we have set up of whether or not they are in fact a customer of ours, whether or not they will actually pay for our technology, you'll get a general vibe based on the discussion of whether they don't care about your product, whether it's nice to have, or it's a must-have. This is up to you to decide. It's pretty subjective, but you will have a good idea from the discussion whether or not they liked it. So right now let's click on must-have. The internet user, this particular user that we talked to, said that he must have these products that we're offering. So, but that wasn't all that we talked about, the only hypothesis that we tested. We also talked about what specifically a value I'm bringing to that internet user. So here are all the hypotheses I put in value proposition, and a lot of these don't apply to internet users, and if you look on the business model canvas I have set up, you'll see that they're not color-coded towards internet users. But we have security that we talked about, let's say, and speed of use, and organizing data. Those are the three things we talked about with this particular customer. And he said that organizing data is a super must-have. He's willing to pay for that. Security doesn't really care about it. And speed of use, he says it's nice to have, but he doesn't really care. And we can go through on all these segments and anything else we talked about, add them to this list of selected hypotheses, and you can see all the selected hypotheses and their feedback based on that hypothesis. You can click the X's to remove them in case you want to. So for now, let's leave it how it is and click Save Interview. And it'll give you this error message if you didn't fill out the required field, so I'll just go through this real quick. CEO, company is LPC Inc. And this other company is G. I will just put NA for all of them. Okay, now we should be able to save it. Perfect. So if you want to look back on that customer interview, where is it? So if you scroll down, you'll see the different things that you've logged into the system already. So these are all the hypotheses, and you can see those right here. We're testing these particular hypotheses, so that's why they all say testing. And other users, where it says add comment, other users, your team members and other team members and teaching team members and mentors can come in and leave comments on all of these and give their feedback and impressions on what you've added. But you see here at the top, you see John. There's a lot of stuff, so what if we want to filter out just our customer interviews? We just click on this, and now we see only our customer interviews. And now again, people can leave comments, or they can click on this button and see more. And you can see the general feedback of the conversation and what it was about. So you can see all the different things that we talked about. We talked about security, speed of use, internet users, meaning the customer segment itself, organizing data, and we see their general impressions of that. Now I'm not going to go ahead and log in 10 different interviews, but let's say we've logged in 10 interviews. We've done all our interviews for the week, and we have 10 different interviews with different variations of these feedbacks on different variations of our hypothesis. But let's say we talk to internet users a lot. 9 of our 10 interviews were internet users, and they all had must-have feedback. Well, now that's a pretty good indication that you can come in here, and you can see when I hover over this that based on that customer interview where that user said that they must have this, you can see it right here. It has a +1 next to the thumbs up sign. But we can go in here, and again, you can see this thumbs up sign and click show detail. But again, let's say that we've talked to 10 people, all 10 have said that they must have this, and for each of the experiments, they passed. And that's because the users overwhelmingly said for both of these things that you have talked to them about, they really liked it. And because both of these have passed, and because we have 10 different thumbs up, we, in our mind, again, this is subjective, have decided that we validated this assumption. We reached a critical mass of conversations where the feedback was overwhelmingly positive. Now you can give a better reason than that probably, but that's just as an example. But you put in the reason and you click submit, And now that hypothesis is validated. This is a thing that, based on your interviews, based on the time that you spend on I-Corps program, this is something that you know to be true about your business model canvas because you have tested multiple experiments, you have talked to multiple people, and you have gained an overwhelming critical mass of customers telling you that this is in fact something that is valuable to them. So you can see this little check mark, and that means validated. Now let's say the opposite thing happens. Let's say we talk to a lot of enterprise, and I'm not going to put in the customer interviews now, but let's just say that we did all 20 interviews, and most of them said that they don't like your features that you talk about. So all in all, it was invalidated. This is something that the customer doesn't care about. So the majority of experiments failed. The customers do not care. And you have these other reasons, by recommendation of mentor or instructor, part of a major pivot, and you'll learn what pivot is during your reading and watching of the videos. And you can enter additional information here. And then just click submit, and you'll be taken back to the screen, and you can go back to your business model canvas, and now you can see that this is crossed through in red. And that means invalidated. You see this red stop sign as well. It means invalidated. So when I, as a teaching team member, or I as a separate team member, or just any individual in your cohort goes in and looks at your business model canvas, we can instantly see your progress on your business model canvas. All the strike through reds means that you've invalidated several hypotheses, and all the little green check marks means that you validated certain hypotheses. And so week by week this will change, and you'll invalidate and validate hypotheses. And as you invalidate these, every week this business model canvas updates, and it removes invalidated hypotheses. And to go back, you just click on this arrow, and you can see previous versions of the business model canvas. But the invalidated ones get removed, and by the end you'll see a lot of your hypotheses, and you can see which ones you're still testing even though you've finished the program, you still have some assumptions left on it, and which ones have been validated.